Right, it's past. We'll wait a few seconds and then we'll get started. How many people have joined, Rach?
I don't know. 23.
Oh, 23. Hi, guys.
Just go.
All right. Hey guys, on Instagram Live and on YouTube. We can't see you, but it's great that you're here. We love that you're worshiping with us this evening. And we hope that you're well and you're doing safe. And whether you're in our kind of usual young adults family or whether you're new here today, you're so welcome and we are so excited. Just to introduce ourselves, I'm Kezia. I'm currently studying theology in London and I'm a placement student in the worship team at KingsGate.
And I'm Rachel and I work in an independent coffee shop in Market Deeping called Godsley Lane. It's on Godsley Lane. It's the best place to come. And I'm one of the worship leaders in church too.
And don't worry, if you're wondering why are we both together, we live together. We are following government rules.
We're not breaking the law. Don't worry. But Esther's already had the coronavirus, so we think she's fine, she's alive, we're all fine, we're all alive. Praise the Lord.
Doing so much better. Thanks for all the people that were so kind. But in a second, we're going to go into a time of worship, which personally is my favourite time of the week. Getting to worship God and just welcoming the Holy Spirit in. And yeah, it's just so important, especially in these times that we're in right now, where anxiety and fear can be so up there in our thoughts. And yeah, God deserves our praise. So that's so important. And the songs that we're singing, you might not know the song, you might not know the lyrics, but if you don't, just listen along and let the Holy Spirit just come and just meet with you this evening. So before we start, I'm just going to pray and then we can get going. Father, thank you so much that we get to be here this evening. Thank you so much that we have the privilege of worshipping you. Even though it's not in our main regular building and it's at home online, Father, we just pray that you'll meet us where we are and that your Spirit will come. So let's get going. We've come to join the song, someone before our lives, to raise our voice alone and earth. We see your faithful hand, your mercy without end, the King who bled and died, the God who sacrificed, be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. And unto you, the slain and risen King, we lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. All through this life we lead, and unto eternity, our endless praise we cry. Jesus be glorified. Jesus be glorified. Be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Sing highest praise, highest praises, Lord of highest praises, Lord of highest praises, Lord of sing highest praise, highest praises, Lord of all, be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. Belongs to you, the slain and risen King. We lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. Be enthroned upon the praises of 1,000 generations. You are worthy, Lord of all. And unto you, the slain and risen King, we lift our voice with heaven, singing worthy, Lord of all. Let this be a place where you long to come as we make a way for your love. Let these hands be clean and this heart blameless as the bride come forth. It's the power of your presence that changes us, your glory all around us. And we're undone, you open up the heavens for the fresh on us. Let this be a house where you long to stay. Ever will you meet us face to face. Abandoned here before you, we want nothing else. Just to be with you and you alone. It's the power of your presence that changes us, your glory all around us. And we're undone, you open up the heavens for the fresh on us. It's the power of your presence that changes us, your glory all around us. And we're undone, you open up the heavens for the fresh on us. that changes us, your glory all around us. And we're undone, you open up the heavens, fall afresh on us. We give you all the glory, God. When you lay down our lives, I'm laying down my life, giving up control, never looking back. I surrender all. I'm living for your glory on the earth. This passion in my heart, this stirring in my soul, to see the nations bow, for all the world to know. I'm living for your glory on the earth. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, light a flame in my soul, for every eye to see. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, burn like a fire in me. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, light a flame in my soul, for every eye to see. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me. I'm laying down my life. I'm laying down my life. I'm giving up control, never looking back. I surrender all. I'm living for your glory on me. This passion in my heart, this stirring in my soul, to see the nations bow, for all the world to know. I'm living for your glory on for the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, light a flame in my soul, for every eye to see. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, burn like a fire in me. For every knee to bow down, for every heart to believe, for every voice to cry out, burn like a fire in me. For every tongue to confess, you alone are the King, you are the hope of the earth, burn like a fire in me. For every knee to bow down, for every heart to believe, for every voice to cry out, burn like a fire in me. For every tongue to confess, you alone are the King, you are the hope of the earth. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, light a flame in my soul, for every eye to see. For the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me. Oh, for the sake of the world, burn like a fire in me, light a flame in my soul, for every eye to see. For the sake of the world,
you that you are here. You are in this living room, Father. You are in every living room, every bedroom, every garage, every room that we are in right now, Father. And we love you so much, Father. We thank you for your protection, that we are all safe and we are all out of harm's way, Father. We thank you that we are able to gather together. We thank you that we have this stuff that we can do and talk to all these people, Father. And we just pray that when Ruth comes to talk to us next, Father, that you will really just speak to her, you will be with her, and you will open up our hearts, open up our ears and our minds to what she's got to say to us, Father. We're so excited for what you have got to say. So, we're gonna. I don't really know what to do now. I think. Have you written down what you want to do?
Ruth is going to be talking next, so don't go. Grab a snack, grab a drink, and wait for the next move to come up. And
get my Kit Kats.
Oh, yeah. It's so good to worship with you guys.
Kezia and Rach. It was just like really great choice of songs, like great to worship together in the presence of God. Thanks, Sarah. Like some people say that I'm a yellow kind of person. I feel like it works with my famous blue chevron curtains as well, that everybody loves on whenever we have Zooms. It's like our signature, the towel signature, it's the chevron curtains. Although Stuart didn't use the chevron curtains for his talk, he just had a plain wall. So I was like, I'm using the chevrons. Anyway, how are we all doing? We all good? This is this is the first time I've ever done an Instagram live or a YouTube live or anything. So it's it's a bit weird because I miss hearing you guys talking back to me. I miss young adults. I miss being able to see you guys and chat to you guys. But excited to share with you tonight. So basically, I think we're ready to go. I think we're live on YouTube. So yeah, that's I'll introduce myself. So hi, I'm Ruth. I am one of the team at Young Adults. I'm a group pastor, and yeah, I'm married to Stuart, who did Refresh a couple of weeks ago and did a great job. And I have the privilege of spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with him at the moment, which is a wonderful privilege to have, but can be challenging at times because he has a lot of energy and he's like super extrovert, whereas I'm like 50% extrovert, 50% introvert. So if I'm introvert Ruth, then we're just learning grace in this season. But he's great. I love him. Pray for him, and because he has to deal with me as well. Because he told you guys to pray for me, so I'm like, I have to ask him to pray for you. I have been coming to KingsGate since I was like 6 months old, which is now actually quite a long time ago. But it has been such a privilege to be part of the church during this time. And seeing it grow and growing with the church, and I just love KingsGate. It's a great family to be part of, and yeah. So what I do, so when I'm not in lockdown, I actually have a very cool job. I work for myself. I'm a photographer and filmmaker, and I work a lot with charities, international development charities. So I have the absolute privilege of traveling to places that you wouldn't normally get to go to, and meeting the most incredible, resilient, beautiful people, and meeting God through the interactions that I have with these people. But now I'm in lockdown and I'm definitely not traveling. I am debating a career change to become a baker, because I am such a millennial, and I have now baked my first sourdough loaf, and it came out pretty good. And just an hour ago, I got some flour delivered to my doorstep to make some more bread. So maybe if we're in lockdown for like a few more years, you can come to me for bread, and I'll sell it to you. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a little drink of water because for some reason the heating was on. So it's quite hot in here. So I turned the heating off. Yes, Galia. Maybe I can cultivate some starter for you. It's so easy to make. Crumpet delivery. We'll work on it. Anyway, so I'm super excited that on Sunday, as young adults, we are having a day of prayer. And that is going to be basically from midnight to midnight, 24 hours of prayer. And I am so excited for this, because it's something that I feel like has stirred in my heart over the last couple of weeks. Basically, I think it was a couple of weekends ago when it was the Easter weekend, which felt really long because we were kind of like stuck at home for the whole weekend. But thankfully the weather was good, so I was able to head out into the garden and do some reading. And I started reading this fab book by a guy called Pete Greig. And Pete Greig, if you haven't heard of him, has started a movement called 24/7 prayer. And basically, since I can't remember when this book was, but it was like the 90s. And since then, they've had like prayer going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in different rooms around the world. And even though now we're in lockdown, they've got like 24/7 prayer happening in rooms online. Which is really awesome, but like super challenging for me, because if you don't know, me and Stuart head up the Young Adults Prayer Army, and prayer is something that I am passionate about, but also something that I am really having to grow and be challenged in, especially at this time, because we are living in a crazy time right now. We're living in a pandemic. We're living under lockdown, things I thought I would never say. But somehow I found that I had fallen in this strange acceptance of this season and just like this routine of how to live. And everyone copes with this season in a different way. But I really felt challenged by God, him asking me like, how's my prayer life doing? And actually the prayers that I was praying, and by that point, were like nowhere near the prayers that I was praying at the start of the pandemic. I'd kind of gotten a bit comfortable with it all. So I felt personally challenged to go deeper in prayer. But I also felt challenged that on behalf of young adults that it was time for us all to go deeper in prayer together. I think the majority of us have more time than ever before. Obviously, we've got some amazing key workers here, and I know you're going to work and some of you are putting in extra hours. But a lot of us also are maybe working from home, had studies ended early, or furloughed, and actually we have a lot more time than what we normally do. So if in this time where we have so much spare time, we still can't find time to pray, then that's a problem, because we should always have time to pray. Prayer should always be a priority in our lives. Even when we're super busy, it should be right in the center. So that's why I felt called to chat to Sarah and get this day of prayer in motion. And I just want to encourage you with this thing I saw on Instagram earlier this week about something that happened in the 10th century, in a situation that was different to this, but also similar. So let me just read this to you. So in the 10th century, the Caliph in Cairo issued a decree to close all churches of the Coptic Christian community in the land and forbid the church bells to ring. The churches were closed, the gates grew rusty, and the pigeons took residence in the sanctuaries. The majority of the Coptics couldn't afford to travel elsewhere, so they were forced to stay at home on Sundays. After 9 years, the Caliph decided to see for himself how the Coptic Christians were faring. In a disguise, he set out on a Sunday and walked in the streets of their quarters in Old Cairo. As he walked in the narrow streets, he heard the sound of their prayers, Bible readings, and worship from every house that he passed. The Caliph's reaction was another decree: open their churches and let them pray as they please. I thought I had closed a church in every street, only to find I had opened a church in every house. So yeah, while our churches, our physical buildings are closed, it doesn't mean the church is closed. It means that a church has been opened in every house. A church is here. The church is in your living room. The church is on Instagram Live and YouTube Live. And hopefully, I'm believing this isn't going to last for 9 years, but let's not let the closure of the physical buildings stop us from being the church. And currently, the world is shaking for everybody. This crisis has impacted not just the UK, but every single country in the world in different ways. And I think when the world is shaking, when darkness is rising, God can move in a greater way, because people are lost and their lives are getting shaken up. So through prayer, we can respond to that. Anyway, that was my intro, which was quite long, but don't worry, the rest of this is a bit more to the point. So my first area that I want to look at is, what is prayer and why is it so important? Jeff on Sunday shared a really great scripture in Luke 24, and actually I'd read this in the week running up to Sunday, and something really stood out to me, so I really felt like I should be sharing this with you guys. So I'm just going to read it to you. So it says, that same day, 2 of Jesus' followers were walking to the village of Emmaus, 7 miles from Jerusalem. As they walked along, they were talking about everything that had happened. So Jesus had died on a cross and risen again, and the tomb was empty. So that's what they were talking about. And as they talked and discussed these things, Jesus himself suddenly came and began walking with them. But God kept them from recognizing him. And then there's this whole dialogue that happens as they're walking on the road, but I'm going to pick up at verse 28. And it says, by this time they were nearing Emmaus, and at the end of their journey, Jesus acted as if he was going on further, but they begged him, stay the night with us since it's getting late. So he went home with them. As they sat down to eat, he took the bread and blessed it. Then he broke it and gave it to them. Suddenly their eyes were opened and they recognized him. And at that moment, he disappeared. They said to each other, didn't our hearts burn within us as he talked to us on the road and explained the scriptures to us? And within the hour, they were on their way back to Jerusalem. And it's an amazing passage, and I've read it so many times. But last week, what really stood out to me is that they didn't realize it was Jesus when they were walking the road with him. It was that point where Jesus was going on further, and they were like, no, you can't keep going on further. You've got to stay the night with us. And I've been to the Middle East, and their culture is so open and so like, you're a stranger, but stay with us, eat with us. And it's just the best thing ever. I love the Middle East, and I could talk about it forever. But honestly, their culture is so open. So I can imagine that happening as I read it, them inviting this person they've only known for an hour in. But if they didn't invite Jesus in, they wouldn't have had the full revelation of who he is. They'd have talked to him but not known who they were encountering. So this opportunity was realized, the full opportunity for them to meet Jesus was realized as they opened up their homes to him, as they begged him to stay. So I want to challenge us, like, are we opening up our homes, our houses for Jesus to stay? Prayer is about us opening our lives for Jesus. I think one of the traps that we can all fall into is thinking that prayer is about us talking, bringing requests. But actually, the foremost thing that prayer is changing us inside. It's about us meeting and experiencing the love of God. It's about us meeting Jesus. The Lord's Prayer starts with our Father, and out of that, everything else flows. So when we have a relationship, when we have a revelation of the heart of the Father, we'll then want to speak God's will into being through prayer. When we know the heart of God, then that changes our heart. If we lose the love of Jesus from our prayers and it just becomes a religious exercise, our prayer will be empty sounds. This famous wedding scripture says, 1 Corinthians 13, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels but have not love, I am a noisy gong or clanging cymbal. So we need to meet Jesus for our prayers. We need to have Jesus' love in us for our prayers to really be full of power. We don't want our prayers to just be this religious exercise that have nothing within them. So it's all about Jesus first. And I love this tweet by Pete Greig, the guy who wrote this book. It's the main tweet on his profile, and it's so fab. It says, can I be honest with you? I'm not actually into prayer. I'm into Jesus. So we talk. I don't believe in the power of prayer. I believe in the power of God. So I ask for his help a lot. I'm not into evangelism. I hate evangelism. I'm into Jesus. So I talk to people about him. And this is a challenging phrase for me. This is a challenging thing for me because I want to be at that place. I want to know Jesus so much that it motivates my every move and choice. So prayer is about meeting Jesus, and out of that everything else flows. And this wonderful passage in Isaiah reflects that. It talks about Zion and Jerusalem, but that kind of translates into the passion that Jesus has. So I'm going to read it. It's Isaiah 62. It says, because I love Zion, I will not keep still. Because my heart yearns for Jerusalem, I cannot remain silent. I will not stop praying for her until her righteousness shines like the dawn and her salvation blazes like a burning torch. The nations will see your righteousness. World leaders will be blinded by your glory. It goes on to say, O Jerusalem, I have posted watchmen on your walls. They will pray day and night continually. Take no rest, all you who pray for the Lord. Give the Lord no rest until he completes his work, until he makes Jerusalem the pride of the earth. It's such an amazing verse in the chapter, and there's so much in it, but I just want to highlight the section that says, I have posted watchmen on your walls. They will pray day and night continually. The word watchman is related to battle. It's keeping a city safe. It's keeping God. And as people who are praying, we are watchmen, keeping God over everything we are praying for. Prayer is a highly spiritual thing. At this time, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and we are responsible for bringing light into the darkness. Prayer is a battle at times. We use prayer as a method for fighting. If you know someone who's in hospital with COVID, we can pray for them, and our prayers can go into the spiritual realm and change the outcome of that circumstance. We need to not let the enemy get a foothold. We need to protect everything with prayer. And that is why prayer is so important. That's why we should be praying. So the second question is, how and where can we pray? Prayer can be done corporately. So when we have Touching Heaven at KingsGate, or when we meet on a Sunday and we pray, or even tonight when we prayed at the end of worship. But it can also be done individually. And different people get on with different ways. So we've got 24-hour prayer coming up, and you can sign up online. And if you're nervous about praying for a whole hour on your own, why not sign up with someone in your life group and do it over video chat and pray over video? Or if you're really comfortable praying on your own, which is kind of, I love doing hour slots on my own because I'm quite an independent person. I love praying in big corporate settings, but there's something that really gets on with me about just praying on my own. I'll do that. So there's different ways we can do it. And actually, I've done quite a few of these 1 hour prayer slots when we've done it corporately as a church. And I've been at the start of the hour and been like, how on earth am I going to fill this whole hour with prayer? It's felt very daunting. So I know a lot of you might not have even done the hour slots before, but it's okay to feel daunted. But there's so many ways we can fill that hour and feel like it's gone super quickly. God has designed us all uniquely, and he's created a different way for us to pray. Prayer isn't just sitting still with your hands closed. That can work for some people. I struggle with that. I would love the focus to be able to sit here in prayer, but I really need to be walking and doing stuff. So quite often I'll do my prayer slot by going out for a walk. And you could go out for a walk and pray for every house that you walk by, every family that represents, over your streets, over a school that you might walk past. If you walk past a hospital, pray for that hospital, or just pray about whatever's in your head. But for me, walking or running and praying is just a way for me to really focus in. If you're musical, you could sit down with a guitar and write or sing songs of breakthrough. We have that great time of worship, and sometimes if it's been too rainy to go out for a walk, I'll just stick on a worship CD and sing along to it, but believe in it, and speak power through that. If you're great if you love journaling or writing poetries, you can write poetry that declares freedom through that time. Just write down prayers. You could speak out in tongues. I love the gift of tongues, and if you don't know what it is, talk to your life group leader about it. Because I believe that the gift of tongues can speak into situations. The Spirit can use that to speak into situations that nobody knows about, that are hidden. So we can do that. If you love drawing, I am terrible at drawing, but if you love drawing, you could spend an hour just drawing a piece of art that represents hope, God's hope. You could rest with a guided prayer. There's an amazing app called Leketo 365, and if you're interested, I'll send you a link to it, or message on Instagram. And that's like a guided prayer app which can just take you through, and you can come into agreement with it, or you can open the Psalms and read them aloud. There's so many ways that we can pray and be creative with it. And just like, I challenge every single one of you to sign up for an hour of prayer. The link is in the bio of this Instagram account, or ask your life group leader, and try out an hour. Try out different things throughout the hour, see what works. There's so many resources out there to help you as well. We're going to be sending out a prayer sheet with prayer points on. There's an amazing resource by 24/7 Prayer, which takes you through a whole hour and different activities that you can do within the hour. There's the app I told you about, which is brilliant. Just takes you through a 10-minute guided prayer each morning called Lekito 365. And if you need resources and you want more resources, like, just send me a message, send Sarah a message, and your life group leader a message. We can help you get them. But an hour of prayer can actually be one of the most enjoyable things ever, and really fill you up, because it is about coming closer to Jesus and growing that relationship and actually seeing his love change the atmosphere. So finally, my final question is, who and what are we praying for? I think one of the best ways to know what to pray for is firstly by spending time with Jesus, and that can inspire you. But like, find what it is that moves you. Find what it is that makes your heart beat that little bit faster, your heart burn. Like I said, I love the Middle East, and I could just pray for the Middle East like super easily. I love my family. I want to pray protection for them. I love my friends. I love young adults. I love you guys. There's so many things we can be praying for. But also, like, we need to realize that actually we're in such a privileged position to be praying for people. And sometimes we will be the only ones praying for a specific person. Our prayers are so important, because, your friend who is suffering from mental health, you might be the only person who's able to pray into that situation, and your prayers are so important for that. Don't take it lightly. Don't assume someone else is praying for them. Your prayers have a huge difference. So, out of your heart to care, pray for those people. We need to stand in the gap. Our prayers do make a difference, and there's stories that represent this hope. And I'll just tell you a couple. So our wonderful Gemma in Young Adults, her dad was in hospital with COVID a few weeks back. And as the Young Adults Prayer Army, we got on praying for him like straight away when he was in hospital. I know other people in KingsGate did also. I was like, we were standing in the gap for him and his health and his family. And amazingly, he recovered miraculously. And you might have seen this on Facebook. It went around, and I saw loads of people sharing it. But his story, because he recovered and it was so miraculous, was then published in the local press. And it was a story that glorified God and spoke of the power of prayer. So prayer not only saw the miraculous healing of Gemma's dad, but also pointed straight to God. And I believe that story has had a great impact to everyone who's read it, and maybe hopefully has inspired people to believe in the power of prayer themselves. And also each week at KingsGate, we're seeing people raising their hands to salvation for church online. There's been a few people who've signed up to Alpha as well to continue that journey of faith. And we've also seen people sending in prayer requests for a whole range of situations of health and all sorts of things, and then coming back saying that God has answered their prayer and he's moving. So prayer does work, and we need to stand in the gap and petition and believe in the power of our prayers. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to say about this. And I could speak so much longer about it, but you guys need to go into life groups and speak about it. And I really want to encourage you all to head to the website that's in the link in the Instagram bio and sign up for a prayer slot. We want every single slot with at least one person in, but I'm believing like 5 people for each slot. But yeah, find a slot, one that's empty, and fill it. And you know, it's on Sunday, and there's like 3 key opportunities to be praying on Sunday as well. 9 a.m, 11 a.m, 5 p.m, that's our services. So if we can cover them in prayer, that people who are logging on meet God, experience his love. Let's be doing that, but let's be signing up for 2 a.m. I've signed up for 3 a.m, which I'm a bit nervous about because I've never really done that slot before, but I'm believing for God to move powerfully and keep me awake doing that. But yeah, so it's so exciting. I'm so excited to pray with you guys on Sunday. And yeah, so have a great time in your life groups. If you're not part of a life group and want to get involved, send a DM on Instagram and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I love you guys and have a great evening. Bye.